My dear brothers and sisters, what if the reason you feel hurt is not because people leave you, but because your heart was holding on to them too tightly? What if your sadness, your overthinking, your emotional pain is coming from depending on people who were never meant to carry your happiness? Pause for a moment and think. How many times did someone's behavior change and your whole mood changed with it? This is not just emotion. This is dependence. And today you are about to understand a truth that will change your life. A truth that will free your heart from people and reconnect it to the one who never changes. One depending on people makes your emotions unstable. My dear brothers and sisters, the moment your happiness becomes tied to people, you unknowingly hand over the control of your emotions to them. And this is where instability begins. You may not even realize it at first, but slowly your mood starts rising and falling based on how others behave with you. When someone gives you attention, you feel valued. When they respond with kindness, you feel secure. And when they show care, you feel important. But the moment that same person becomes distant, busy, or changes their tone, your heart begins to feel uneasy, restless, and hurt. This happens because people are not thabit. They are constantly changing. Their behavior changes depending on their mood. Their priorities change depending on their situation, and their feelings change depending on their experiences. A person who once gave you time may become occupied. Someone who once understood you may start seeing things differently. This is the nature of human beings. They are not consistent, and they are not meant to be the foundation of your emotional stability. When your peace is connected to something that is always changing, your heart can never remain steady. It is like building your home on moving sand. No matter how beautiful it looks from the outside, it will never be strong enough to hold you firmly. One moment you feel uplifted, the next moment you feel drained. One day you feel loved, the next day you feel ignored. This constant shift creates emotional exhaustion, and over time it weakens your inner strength. You begin to overthink small things. You start questioning people's actions, their words, even their silence. You wonder why they did not reply, why they did not call, why they changed. And without realizing it, your mind becomes trapped in a cycle of overanalysis and emotional dependency. Your happiness is no longer yours. It is controlled by external reactions. This is not strength, my dear brothers and sisters. This is a form of dependence that silently drains you. True strength is when your emotional state is not easily shaken by people's behavior. True strength is when your heart remains calm even when people act differently than you expected. Understand this deeply. No human being has the ability to carry your emotional weight perfectly. They have their own struggles, their own limitations, their own moments of weakness. Expecting them to always fulfill your emotional needs is unrealistic and unfair, both to them and to yourself. That is why your heart feels burdened when it depends too much on people, because it is seeking stability from something that was never designed to provide it. Only Allah is constant. Only Allah understands every feeling within you without you having to explain it. Only Allah can give you a peace that is not affected by people's presence or absence. When your heart shifts its reliance from people to Allah, something powerful begins to happen. You still interact with people, you still care about them, but your inner state no longer depends on them. You stop riding the emotional roller coaster of human behavior, and you begin to experience a steady, calm, and grounded peace. And that is the difference between a heart that depends on people and a heart that depends on Allah. Two expectations from people always lead to pain. My dear brothers and sisters, when the heart begins to depend on people, it does not stop there. It slowly starts creating expectations, often without you even realizing it. You expect people to understand you without you having to explain yourself. You expect them to care in the same way you care. You expect them to remain consistent, to always be there, to always respond, to always value you the way you value them. At first, these expectations feel natural. You tell yourself that it is normal to want appreciation, normal to want loyalty, normal to want attention. But what you do not realize is that the more you expect from people, the more you are setting yourself up for disappointment. Because human beings are limited. They are not guarded on fulfilling every emotional need you carry inside your heart. People have their own struggles, their own distractions, their own emotional battles. There will be days when they are unable to give you what you expect, not because they do not care, but because they are overwhelmed by their own circumstances. And when your expectations are not met, the pain begins. A small delay feels like rejection. A simple change in tone feels like distance. Silence feels like neglect. This is how expectations quietly turn into emotional wounds. Not because something major happened, but because your heart was holding on to an image of how things should be. You expected consistency in a world that constantly changes. You expected perfection from people who are imperfect by nature. And the more you expect, the more sensitive your heart becomes. You begin to notice every small difference. You begin to read into every action. You begin to feel hurt even when there was no intention to hurt you. Over time, this creates a heavy emotional burden. You are not just dealing with reality, you are dealing with the weight of unmet expectations. My dear brothers and sisters, one of the greatest forms of wisdom is learning to reduce your expectations from people. This does not mean you stop caring. It does not mean you stop loving. It simply means you stop attaching your peace to how people behave. When you expect less, you feel lighter. When you expect less, you are not easily disappointed. When you expect less, you begin to appreciate what people do instead of being hurt by what they do not do. And most importantly, when you reduce your expectations from people, you begin to redirect your expectations toward Allah. You begin to rely on the one who never fails, the one who never forgets, the one who never changes. Allah does not disappoint. Allah does not ignore. Allah does not abandon. When your expectations are placed in the right place, your heart begins to heal. The pain that once came from people slowly fades away because your hope is no longer tied to them. Understand this deeply. The problem is not always people. The problem is often the expectations we build around them. So protect your heart. Care for people, but do not expect perfection from them. Love them, but do not depend on them to complete you. Give, but do not wait for equal return. Because the moment you free your heart from excessive expectations, you also free it from unnecessary pain. And that is where true peace begins. 3. Seeking validation from people weakens your self-worth. My dear brothers and sisters, when a person begins to depend on others for happiness, something very subtle starts to happen within the heart. You begin to look at people not just as companions, but as a source of approval. You start seeking validation from them in ways you may not even notice at first. You want them to acknowledge you, to praise you, to reassure you that you are enough. And slowly, without realizing it, your sense of worth starts shifting away from within you to outside of you. You begin to measure yourself based on how people react to you. If they appreciate you, you feel valuable. If they ignore you, you begin to question yourself. If they praise you, you feel confident. If they criticize you, you feel broken. This is how self-worth becomes fragile. Because now it is no longer rooted in something stable. It is tied to opinions, and opinions change. It is tied to people, and people are inconsistent. You may find yourself constantly checking how others perceive you. You become careful with your words, your actions, even your personality, just to fit into what people expect from you. You start hiding parts of yourself. You start adjusting who you are. Not because it is right, but because you want to be accepted. And this is where the real damage begins. Because every time you change yourself just to gain approval, you slowly lose connection with your true self. You begin to live a version of your life that is designed to please others, not a life that reflects who you truly are. My dear brothers and sisters, there is a deep exhaustion in living for validation. It drains your energy, it disturbs your peace, and it keeps your heart in a constant state of insecurity. You are always wondering if you are enough, always waiting for reassurance, always hoping someone will confirm your value. But the reality is this: if your value comes from people, it can be taken away by people. Today they may praise you, tomorrow they may ignore you. Today they may support you, tomorrow they may criticize you. And if your self-worth is built on their opinions, it will rise and fall with every word they say. This is why many people feel empty even when they receive attention, because deep inside they know that the approval they are getting is temporary. It does not truly satisfy the heart, because the heart was never meant to depend on people for its worth. True self-worth comes from a deeper place. It comes from understanding your connection with Allah. When you recognize that Allah created you with purpose, that He sees your struggles, that He knows your intentions, something inside you changes. You begin to realize that your value is not defined by how people see you, but by how you stand in front of Allah. You begin to find confidence in your relationship with Him. You begin to feel secure, not because people approve of you, but because you know that Allah knows your sincerity, your efforts, and your struggles. And when that understanding settles in your heart, the need for validation starts to fade. You no longer feel the urge to prove yourself to everyone. You no longer feel the need to explain yourself constantly. You become more comfortable with who you are, even if others do not fully understand you. This does not mean you stop caring about people. It simply means your identity is no longer dependent on their opinions. You start to live with quiet confidence. You speak with sincerity, not to impress. You act with intention, not for approval. You carry yourself with dignity, not for validation. And this is true strength. Because when your self-worth is rooted in your relationship with Allah, it becomes stable. It is no longer shaken by people's reactions. It is no longer dependent on external praise. My dear brothers and sisters, free yourself from the need for constant validation. You do not need everyone to understand you. You do not need everyone to approve of you. You do not need everyone to accept you. What you need is a strong connection with Allah, because that is where your true worth lies. And when you truly understand this, you will no longer chase validation. You will walk your path with calmness, with clarity, and with a heart that knows its value. And that is a level of peace that very few people experience. 4. Attachment to people distracts you from Allah. My dear brothers and sisters, one of the most subtle yet dangerous effects of emotional attachment to people is that it slowly shifts the direction of your heart. At first, it feels harmless. You care about someone, you enjoy their presence, you feel connected. But over time, that connection can quietly turn into dependence. And that dependence begins to take a space in your heart that belongs only to Allah. You start thinking about people more than you think about your relationship with Allah. Their words begin to affect you more deeply than the reminders of the Quran. Their attention begins to comfort you more than your dua. And without realizing it, your heart starts seeking from creation what should only be sought from the Creator. This is where distraction begins. When your heart is attached to people, your focus becomes divided. You begin to worry more about what they think of you than what Allah knows about you. You become more concerned about pleasing them than pleasing Allah. You feel more hurt by their distance than you feel concerned about your own distance from Allah. This is not because you are weak. It is because the heart was never meant to carry such attachment to people. My dear brothers and sisters, attachment to people creates emotional noise. It fills your mind with constant thoughts. You begin to replay conversations, analyze actions, question intentions. Your thoughts become heavy and your heart becomes restless. And in that state of restlessness, it becomes difficult to focus on your ibadat. Your salah feels distracted. Your dua feels rushed. Your connection with Allah weakens, not because you do not believe, but because your heart is occupied. Occupied with people, occupied with expectations, occupied with emotional dependence. This is why many people struggle to feel peace even when they are trying to worship. Their bodies are present, but their hearts are elsewhere. Understand this deeply. The heart can only hold one primary attachment at its center. If that attachment is filled by people, your connection with Allah will naturally weaken. But if that attachment is filled by Allah, everything else will fall into its proper place. When your heart is attached to Allah, your relationship with people becomes balanced. You care, but you do not depend. You love, but you do not lose yourself. You give, but you are not broken when you do not receive. But when your heart is attached to people, everything becomes heavy. Their presence becomes your comfort. Their absence becomes your pain. Their approval becomes your goal. Their rejection becomes your fear. And this is where distraction turns into suffering. My dear brothers and sisters, people are not meant to be the center of your emotional world. They are part of your life, not the foundation of your peace. They are companions on your journey, not the destination of your heart. Only Allah deserves that place. Only Allah is constant. Only Allah is perfect. Only Allah understands every hidden feeling, every silent tear, every unspoken pain within you. When you turn to Allah sincerely, you begin to feel a different kind of peace. A peace that is not dependent on anyone's presence. A peace that does not disappear when people change. A peace that remains even in moments of loneliness. And this is the peace your heart has been searching for. But to experience it, you must slowly reduce the attachment you have built toward people. This does not mean you stop loving them. It does not mean you become cold or distant. It simply means you reposition your heart. You bring Allah back to the center. You remind yourself that people are temporary, but Allah is eternal. You remind yourself that people may understand parts of you, but Allah understands you completely. You remind yourself that people may comfort you for a moment, but Allah can give you a peace that lasts. My dear brothers and sisters, the more you attach your heart to Allah, the less distracted you will feel by people. Your mind will become clearer. Your heart will become calmer. Your ibadats will become more meaningful. You will begin to feel hudur in your salah. You will begin to feel sincerity in your dua. You will begin to experience a connection that is deeper than any human relationship. And when that connection becomes strong, something beautiful happens. People are no longer your source of happiness. They become a part of your life, not the center of it. Their presence becomes a blessing, not a necessity. Their absence becomes manageable, not devastating. Because your heart has found something greater. So bring your heart back. Detach it from excessive attachment to people and reconnect it with Allah. Because the moment your heart returns to Allah, you will realize that the peace you were searching for in people was always with Him. 5, true freedom comes when you depend only on Allah. My dear brothers and sisters, there is a level of peace that many people search for throughout their entire lives, yet very few truly understand where it comes from. People think freedom means having control over their circumstances, having people who support them, or having a life where everything goes according to their desires. But real freedom is not found in controlling the world around you. Real freedom is found in freeing your heart from dependence on the world altogether. And this freedom begins the moment you truly depend only on Allah. When your heart is attached to people, your emotional state is always at risk. You feel uplifted when they are kind to you, and you feel broken when they change. You feel secure when they are present, and you feel anxious when they are distant. This constant fluctuation is exhausting, and it keeps your heart trapped in a cycle of dependence. But when your heart learns to depend on Allah, something remarkable begins to happen. You start to feel a stability that is not affected by people's behavior. Your peace no longer rises and falls based on human reactions. Instead, it becomes grounded, calm, and steady. You begin to understand that Allah is Al-Kafi, the one who is sufficient for you in every situation. This understanding is not just a statement, it becomes a feeling that settles deep within your heart. You no longer feel the desperate need for constant reassurance from people, because you know that Allah is always aware of you, always listening to you, always present with you. My dear brothers and sisters, true freedom is when your happiness is no longer controlled by anyone. It is when people's approval does not define your worth, and their rejection does not break your spirit. It is when you can walk your path with confidence, knowing that your connection with Allah is enough to carry you through every situation. When you depend on Allah, you still interact with people, you still build relationships, you still care deeply, but your inner state is no longer tied to them. You love them without losing yourself. You give without expecting. You forgive without holding on to pain. And most importantly, you remain emotionally balanced regardless of how people behave. This is not detachment in a cold or harsh sense. This is detachment with wisdom. It is understanding that people are part of your life, but they are not the source of your peace. It is recognizing that while people can support you, they cannot complete you. Only Allah can do that. When you place your reliance on Allah, you begin to experience a different kind of strength, a quiet strength, a strength that does not need to be seen or validated by others. A strength that allows you to remain calm in difficult situations, patient in times of delay, and grateful even when things do not go your way. You start to see life differently. When people leave, you do not feel abandoned because you know Allah is still with you. When people disappoint you, you do not feel shattered because your expectations are not tied to them. When things do not happen as you planned, you do not feel hopeless because you trust that Allah's plan is always better. This trust, this tawakkul, is the foundation of true freedom. My dear brothers and sisters, many people say they trust Allah, but their hearts are still attached to people. True reliance on Allah is not just words, it is a state of the heart. It is when you genuinely believe that whatever Allah chooses for you is better than what you choose for yourself. It is when you accept that even difficulties carry wisdom and even delays carry mercy. When this understanding settles in your heart, fear begins to fade. You are no longer afraid of losing people because you know your source of peace is not them. You are no longer afraid of being alone because you know you are never truly alone with Allah. You are no longer afraid of the future because you trust the one who controls it. This is what it means to be truly free. Free from the need for constant approval. Free from the fear of rejection. Free from the anxiety of losing people. Free from the emotional weight of expectations. Your heart becomes light. Your mind becomes clear. Your life becomes more focused. And in this state of freedom, your relationship with Allah becomes stronger than ever. Your salah becomes more meaningful because your heart is present. Your dua becomes more sincere because you are turning to the one you truly rely on. Your patience becomes deeper because you trust the outcome. You begin to experience a level of contentment that is not dependent on circumstances. Even in moments of hardship, there is a sense of calm within you. Even in moments of loneliness, there is a sense of companionship with Allah. Even in moments of uncertainty, there is a sense of trust that everything is unfolding exactly as it should. My dear brothers and sisters, this is the beauty of relying on Allah. It does not remove challenges from your life, but it transforms the way you experience them. It does not mean people will never hurt you, but it means their actions will not have the power to break you. It does not mean you will never feel sadness, but it means your sadness will not turn into despair because your heart is anchored to something unshakable. So take a moment to reflect. Where does your heart truly depend? Is it tied to people, their presence, their approval, their attention, or is it tied to Allah? If you want real peace, real strength, and real freedom, then slowly shift your reliance. Detach your heart from excessive dependence on people and attach it firmly to Allah. Because when Allah becomes enough for you, everything else becomes manageable. And when your heart is with Allah, you will never feel truly lost again. My dear brothers and sisters, if your heart has been feeling heavy, if you have been hurt, disappointed, or emotionally drained because of people, then understand this clearly. It is not a sign that you are weak. It is a sign that your heart has been depending on something that was never meant to hold it. People will come and go. Their words will change. Their actions will change. But Allah never changes. So bring your heart back to where it truly belongs. Depend on Allah for your peace. Turn to Him in your pain. Trust Him in every situation. Because when your heart is connected to Allah, no loss can truly break you. And no absence can truly empty you. Let people be part of your life, but never the foundation of your happiness. Free your heart from dependence, and you will discover a peace that no person can give and no situation can take away. May Allah grant us hearts that rely only on Him, hearts that remain calm in every test, and hearts that find true happiness in His remembrance. Ameen.